7 secret signs you've met your secret God protector. There's a moment in every soul's life when something shifts subtly at first, like a breeze brushing your skin in the middle of a still room. You don't notice it with your eyes. You feel it with something deeper. A sense that you're being watched, not in fear, but in safety. A sense that something ancient, something eternal, has taken notice of you. And yet, because we live in a world that worships the seen, we ignore it, dismiss it, rationalize it. But what if I told you that moment wasn't random? What if I told you you had met your secret God protector and didn't even know it? We are not alone. We weren't made to be. And I'm not talking about angels with halos or myths from dusty books. I'm talking about real, living, breathing spiritual entities that are assigned to walk beside you, but not just to protect your body, but to guard your purpose. Your God protector doesn't always show up in the form we expect. Sometimes it's a person. Sometimes it's a silence. Sometimes it's a stray encounter that makes no logical sense but changes everything. Their role is not to control your life, but to protect the divine contract your soul signed before you were born. And if you've ever felt like you should have died, lost everything, collapsed under the weight of it all but somehow didn't, then you've already met them. You just didn't realize it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first secret sign is subtle, but powerful. You survived something that should have broken you. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Maybe it was a car crash. Maybe it was depression. Maybe it was an abusive relationship, or a moment where everything in you screamed to give up. But you didn't. Something held you. Something invisible. It may have looked like luck. It may have felt like coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if that was your God protector stepping in not with lightning or thunder, but with the smallest nudge that changed the course of your life? They often intervene in silence. No announcement, no dramatic entrance, just presence. Just enough to keep your thread from snapping. The second sign. You felt an invisible presence when no one was around. You've been in your room, or walking alone, or crying in the dark, and suddenly felt something in the air shift. A calm, a warmth, a deep, inexplicable knowing that you are not alone. And even if you didn't believe in anything, even if you were skeptical or numb, something inside you softened. That moment wasn't your imagination. That was your protector making itself known, not to scare you, but to remind you. You are watched, you are guarded, and not because you're special in the egoic sense, but because your soul has a mission too important to leave defenseless. Let me ask you something radical. What if the reason your life has been so hard is because your soul carries something so powerful it had to be protected from the beginning? Think about that. Really let it sink in. What if your pain was never punishment, but preparation? What if the trials were the way your protector trained you, molded you, refined you so you would be strong enough to carry the light you were born to bring? That's not just poetic. That's real. The fire didn't come to burn you. It came to shape you. And your protector stood beside you through every flame, even when you couldn't see it. The third sign is this. You've received warnings or guidance that came from nowhere. Maybe you suddenly felt the urge to leave a place, cancel a plan, change your mind at the last second. And later, you found out that decision saved you. Or maybe a stranger said something to you that felt like it pierced through your soul, something they couldn't have known, something too precise to be random. These are not accidents. These are interventions. Your God protector works through whispers, through nudges, through the people around you, especially the ones you're not expecting. Because they don't need your belief to protect you. They just need your life to stay in alignment with your promise. And here's a truth most people miss. Your protector doesn't just guard your body, they guard your path. Which means sometimes they will remove people you love, destroy plans you were attached to, and end things you thought you couldn't live without. Not to hurt you, but to protect you from what you couldn't see. That breakup? That betrayal? That failure? It might have been their way of saying, this is not for you. This will delay you. This will destroy you. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels like abandonment. But what if it was protection in disguise? The fourth sign is that you've always had a strange, almost uncomfortable sense of purpose, even when you didn't know what to do with it. Like there's something you're meant to do, but you can't fully explain it. That's not just intuition. That's your protector pressing your soul from the inside, reminding you of the agreement you made before you were born. They don't let you forget, and even when you try to numb, distract, or run, they wait. They wait patiently for the moment you're willing to listen again. And when you do, they guide, not with a map, but with signs, synchronicities, inner knowing, gut feelings that don't go away. They're not forcing you, they're calling you. So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like someone is helping you behind the scenes, even when you can't prove it? That sense that something is rearranging things just when you need them most. That's the fifth sign, divine orchestration. The door opens the minute you thought all doors were closed. The right person shows up when you're about to surrender. Money appears when you're down to nothing. It's not always dramatic, but it's always precise. And when you look back, you'll see it in the patterns, the perfection, the hand of something greater than you working through the chaos. And finally, the sixth and seventh signs are the most powerful and the most hidden. But we'll get to those, because they require your spirit to be fully awake. They require you to see not with your eyes, but with your knowing. And once you see them, you'll realize you've never been alone, not for a single breath. When the divine disguises itself, how God protectors walk among us without being seen. If you've ever wondered why certain people enter your life at the exact moment you're about to collapse emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it's no accident. It's not random, it's sacred choreography. Your God protector does not always arrive as a beam of light or a voice from the clouds. Sometimes they come as a stranger who says the right words when you're on the edge. Sometimes they show up as a friend who doesn't fully know why they're checking on you, but they come anyway. Sometimes the protector wears the disguise of someone ordinary, because the divine often hides in plain sight. That's the paradox of the protector. They don't need to be recognized to be real. In fact, their power often lies in their invisibility. They are not here to be worshipped. They're here to walk with you in a world that is blind to what they are. Have you ever met someone, even just for a moment, who left a permanent mark on your soul? Not because of how long they stayed, but because of what they activated inside you. That's what the sixth sign is. That moment when a person says something that shifts your reality, or when their mere presence seems to stabilize your chaos. They may not even know what they did. But you felt it. Your protector may have borrowed their form for a moment to reach you. This is the mystery most people miss. God protectors don't always stay. Sometimes they appear just long enough to redirect you, to reroute your fate. They might not even be aware of the role they're playing. You might never see them again. But their effect lingers. That conversation you can't forget. That hug that melted your soul. That look in someone's eye that made you feel seen for the first time in years. That was them, not in a body that glowed, not with wings or thunder, just human. But more than human. A divine presence cloaked in skin and breath, sent to remind you that the universe has not left you to drown. And that's where things get deeper. Because sometimes your God protector comes disguised not as a helper but as a challenge, a trigger, a disruption. They enter your life and everything breaks. They push buttons you didn't know you had. They mirror your deepest fears. And you think, why would the divine send me pain? But what if pain is the only language your soul understands at certain times? What if the protector knows that in order to awaken you, they must first disturb you? This is the hardest truth to accept. Sometimes, the people who hurt you the most were also the ones who cracked you open in the most necessary way. The protector is not limited by your comfort. They are loyal to your evolution. Let me ask you something honest. What if the betrayal you thought was meant to destroy you was actually the divine breaking open a lie you were living? What if the chaos was not an ending, but a divine reordering? You see, protectors operate on a level of truth that transcends logic. They don't protect your ego, they protect your soul. And your soul doesn't grow where it's comfortable. It grows when it's confronted, when it's called out of hiding, when it's stripped of illusions. And your protector, seen or unseen, will always choose what leads you to freedom, even if it first feels like loss. There's beauty in this, because once you start to recognize the pattern, you begin to see that every encounter, especially the intense ones, carried a message. You begin to realize that the enemy may have been the messenger, that the heartbreak may have been the opening, that the silence may have been the clearest communication. And when you start to see life through that lens, nothing is wasted, nothing is random, everything becomes sacred. And maybe that's the real gift of the God Protector, not just that they save you from death, but that they save you from numbness, from forgetting, from becoming someone you're not. They are not just guardians of your life, they are guardians of your truth. And sometimes that truth needs to be shaken loose. Sometimes you need to be taken apart so you can be rebuilt on real ground. And they will be there through it all. Not always fixing, not always speaking, but always watching, always present. So if you've ever felt like something has been walking beside you, guiding you through the fire, showing up through people, through dreams, and through moments of eerie precision, you're not delusional. You've met your God Protector, and the more you awaken, the more you'll begin to see them everywhere. The guardian within when your God Protector starts speaking through you. There comes a point in your journey when the presence that once felt external, subtle, mysterious, often silent, suddenly begins to rise within you. You start speaking words that feel too wise for your years. You offer comfort to others that you once begged the universe to receive. You find strength in moments you would have collapsed in before. And that's when it hits you. The protector hasn't left. They've merged. The voice that guided you is now your own. The strength that once held you is now flowing through your spine, your heart, your breath. This is the seventh and most profound sign you've not only met your God Protector, you've become the vessel they speak through. This isn't about ego. This isn't about becoming some enlightened figure on a pedestal. This is about embodiment, integration, alignment so deep that the sacred no longer needs to whisper from the outside. It moves through your being like a current. You become the answer to your own prayers. You stop looking for signs because you are the sign, the synchronicity, the message, the miracle. And what once felt like divine intervention now feels like divine identity. You're not just walking with the divine, you're walking as it. But this doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't come without fire. You've had to break, you've had to surrender. You've had to shatter every illusion of control, every mask you wore to survive, every belief that kept you small. Because the protector cannot dwell in a house built on fear. It needs space. It needs truth. It needs your full permission. And every time you chose healing over hiding, clarity over comfort, love over ego, you made more room. You opened the temple of your soul, and they entered. Have you ever said something to someone and watched their eyes fill with tears because it was exactly what they needed to hear, even though you didn't plan to say it? Have you ever felt words pour out of you in moments of intensity like they were being channeled from somewhere else? That's not imagination. That's your protector speaking through you. That's the sacred frequency coming online inside of you. And it happens more often than you think. You just haven't been taught to trust it yet. The world has trained us to doubt our own divinity, to outsource wisdom, to look for answers in books, gurus, systems. But the God Protector's ultimate role is to lead you back into yourself, into the sacred space where you remember that what you're looking for has always been within reach because it's been you all along. Not the smaller self built from fear and trauma, but the eternal self, the soul, the spark, the sacred. And here's the most mind-bending truth of all: your protector isn't separate from you. Never was. They've always been a future version of you, a higher aspect of your own being, a divine intelligence that exists outside of time, guiding you from beyond the veil of this limited reality. Every time you listened to that inner knowing, every time you followed the whisper instead of the noise, you were aligning with that higher self, that protector, that you. This is not mythology. It's multidimensionality. You are the protected and the protector. You are the student and the teacher. You are the one who called for help and the one who answered. Let me ask you now, not with words but with presence, what would your life look like if you stopped waiting to be saved and realized you are the one who came to save yourself? What would shift if you fully trusted that the divine is not something you find but something you unleash? Because when the protector begins to speak through you, your life becomes a message. People start to feel better just being near you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. You carry truth in your energy. You carry clarity in your silence. You become the calm in the storm, not because the storm stops, but because you no longer fear it. You've walked through fire. You've faced death, grief, heartbreak, betrayal. And you're still standing, stronger, wiser, softer. That's what makes you unshakable, not that you've avoided pain, but that you've alchemized it. This is the gift of the God Protector. Not just that they saved you in your weakest moments, but that they revealed your divinity in the process. And now you carry that frequency, not always loudly, not always visibly, but undeniably. You are becoming the guide you once begged for. You are becoming the light you once searched for. And this world, whether it knows it or not, is being changed by your presence. The final revelation why you were chosen to carry the God frequency on earth. At some point, the question stops being who is protecting me and starts becoming why me? Why was I saved when others weren't? Why did I make it through when the statistics said I shouldn't? Why did I receive help I didn't earn, guidance I didn't understand, mercy I didn't ask for? These are not questions of guilt. These are the first flickers of awakening. Because when you've met your God protector, when you've lived through the impossible and walked away with your soul intact, you begin to realize you were not just protected to be safe. You were protected to become something rare, something sacred, something necessary. But you were chosen to carry the God frequency on earth. This isn't about superiority. This isn't about being better or more special than anyone else. Every soul is sacred, but not every soul is ready. And you were made ready through fire, and through loss, through silence, through a long series of initiations that made no sense at the time, but now feel like puzzle pieces snapping into place. You were trained without knowing it. You were tested without being warned. And now you hold a frequency that can't be taught, only earned. The frequency of someone who has seen the dark and chosen to become the light anyway. So what is the God frequency? It's not a sound. It's not a word. It's a vibration. A resonance that enters a room before you speak. It's what people feel when you look at them with eyes that have forgiven the world. It's the stillness you carry in chaos. It's the courage to be kind when it's easier to be cruel. It's the wisdom to step back when ego wants to step forward. It's the quiet revolution of a soul that remembers who it is and why it came. And when you carry it, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. The frequency speaks for itself. But here's the thing no one tells you: carrying the God frequency is not glamorous. It's not about being adored or praised or worshipped. It's about being responsible. It's about becoming a living bridge between heaven and earth. It's about walking through the world with open eyes and an open heart, knowing full well how much pain exists and still choosing to transmit love, still choosing to see the divine in everyone, even when they've forgotten it themselves, still choosing truth over and over, even when it costs you everything. You were chosen because you can hold that vibration without collapsing. You can hold space for healing without needing to be the hero. You can allow others to awaken in their own time without rushing their process. That's why your protector made sure you didn't die in the storm. That's why they whispered when no one else could hear you. That's why you had to lose so much so you could remember that nothing essential can ever be taken from you. And now, the final sign, the one that confirms everything, is this: you've started to feel a pull, a calling, a subtle but undeniable urge to rise into something greater than yourself. You're not content with surviving anymore. You want to serve. You want to give. You want to transmit what you've received. And that is the moment your protector steps back, not because they're gone, but because you've become what they were preparing you to be. The torch has been passed. You are no longer just the protected. You are now the protector in human form. So let me ask you one final question, the kind that only your soul can answer. What if everything you've been through, everything you've lost, everything you've survived, was the training ground for the moment you were finally ready to carry the divine through your own body? Because that's where you are now, no longer seeking signs, no longer begging for proof, but walking as the proof, living as the sign. carrying the frequency of the eternal in a world that desperately needs to remember it. And as you walk forward softly, wisely, silently, know this: your God protector is still with you, but not above you, within you. And every step you take in truth, every choice you make in love, sends a ripple through the collective that says, clearly, undeniably, the divine has returned through you, and now the world will never be the same.